morning, everyone. Perfect. Just give it a few minutes, seconds longer, make sure if anyone else is popping in. Looks like we might have a small group today, which is good. We can get to chat a little bit more with each other. Perfect. So I will go ahead and get started, and as people jump in, we'll just kind of include them as we go to make sure we stay on time. To start off, I'm Emma White. I'm the events manager that you all have gotten thousands of emails from and talked to on the phone probably numerous times as well. I'm going to take a quick minute to introduce you guys to some people you may not know who are also on the Keep Victoria Beautiful team. So we have Gary, our volunteers manager. Little wave. And then we also have Anton, who works with Gary closely, but I don't see him in here yet. And then we have Sam Lawson, our project coordinator. Little wave. Perfect. And then we also have Kirsty, who is one of our board members, joining us today as well. Unfortunately, our CEO, Sabina, couldn't attend today. Excuse me. She had a big meeting already scheduled before this, so we will just go on without her, unfortunately. Quickly, how today will work. So everyone will be unmuted, and then when it is your time to talk, you'll just unmute yourself in the bottom left corner of your screen and take 1 to 2 minutes to talk about your project. I will go down the list just calling on project names and not project groups, just so you're aware, just because some groups have entered numerous projects, like I see City of Casey here. So I will go off the project's name and not the group name. So take 1 to 2 minutes. If you start to go over that 2-minute mark, you'll just see me put a little thumbs up in my corner of the screen. That's just letting you know you're getting to that 2-minute mark, time to start wrapping up. We will not have screen share, excuse me, as sent out in the email just due to time restraints as well. So just in that 1 to 2 minutes, give your best description of your project, of what you're doing. And then finally, we will encourage everyone to use the chat feature to connect with people. You might be able to network with someone after the event as well through that, and just share ideas through that. Perfect. Now we will pass off to Gary to give a little bit of a background on Keep Victoria Beautiful. We can't hear you, Gary.
Has that made a difference?
Yep, that helps.
Okay. No different to any other day, but here we go. So yeah, just a quick history on how Keep Victoria Beautiful came into existence and what we do. So coming into existence about just over 50 years ago now, I was going to say notorious, wrong word, a well-known Victorian lady called Dame Phyllis Frost, who was a very passionate advocate on both women's prisons and the environment. And she did lots of speeches across the state in relation to both of those areas. And one day she was driving up to Bendigo along the Calder Highway in her brand new car, and she was passed by a truck on the way, which didn't particularly concern her. What did concern her was not long after the truck passed her, the truck driver decided he was going to clean out his cabin. So he started throwing rubbish and litter out the window. She wasn't happy about that, obviously, but she became more agitated when some of the rubbish and litter started hitting her. Not one to forget, Dame Phyllis completed her appointment in Bendigo, returned to Melbourne, and when she returned to Melbourne, as she was able to do, given the nature of the lady, she went to Parliament and demanded to speak to Sir Henry Bolte, who was the Premier of the day. Around Victoria, and now finished up her little speech with the statement, and I think we need an anti-litter campaign. Apparently Sir Henry went pale, rocked back in his chair, and went silent for about 10 seconds, which was very unlike him. And then when he came back upright, he said, "We need what?" And she said, "We need an anti-litter campaign." And he said, "Oh, that's fine. I thought you said we need an anti-liquor campaign.
We lost you again, Gary.
How's that, any better?
Better.
Plugs fully in now. Okay. Okay, so yeah, we started off as an anti-litter campaign. We're still involved in litter, as evidenced by the litter campaign, litter categories in our awards programs. And we've recently become involved in illegal dumping as well, through an education program with local councils and authorities to try and hopefully reduce and hopefully then also prosecute those who continue to illegally dump. So we're still, as I said, we're still heavily involved in the litter side of things. We run the 2 awards programs, the Sustainable Cities, which you people are involved in. We also run a similar one called Tidy Towns, which is for regional Victoria. And apart from that, one of the other strong areas that we're in is community. We run 2 volunteer programs. The largest one is called Adopt a Roadside. And for those of you who get to drive on regional road, you would have seen many, many signs saying that a particular club is looking after a section of road. Adopt a Roadside program is a Vic Roads program. We manage it for them on a day-to-day basis under contract, and we've done so for many years now. That program has about 140 groups involved. The groups are looking after roughly 700 kilometres of roads across Victoria, which doesn't seem a lot. But just to give you a visual picture, to drive 700 kilometres in Victoria, you would need to drive from Orbost to Portland. So it's quite a significant stretch of road that's being looked after. And collectively, the groups are picking up a very conservative, 50 to 60 tonnes of rubbish each year. We believe it's probably significantly more than that, but because the groups aren't required to measure or weigh what they're collecting, we always quote figures that are conservative. The other program we run is a Keep Victoria Beautiful program called Stationeers, and that's where local community volunteers beautify their local railway station. And that is across the whole estate, so both Metro and regional Victoria. There's about 60 groups involved in that. Primary aim is to make the railway station look better than what it otherwise would. Their main activity is to, 1, establish and then maintain garden beds around the railway station. There's obvious benefits for the community in general because the station looks better than what it otherwise would. Passengers seem to feel better because it looks better, and there's a feeling of safety or increased safety with the station looking better. There's benefits for the volunteers on the basis that they're doing an outside activity, they're doing a physical activity. In a lot of cases, they're meeting people in their communities that they otherwise wouldn't meet. So there's a lot of community benefits from the Stationeers program as well. So that's what we're involved in, and that's how we came to be.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Gary. We will go ahead and get started. I will read through all the projects. Obviously, we won't have everyone here today, so I'll just skip over them. If I go too fast, just wave down, unmute yourself, and let me know as well. So up first, we have Nurture by Nature. Berwick Lodge Sensory Garden. The Casey Aquatic and Recreation Center, Energy Savers.
Dave. Okay. The Casey Aquatic Recreation Centre is in Narre. It was built in 2000, and it has about 850,000 visitations a year. We started work on the programme in 2012 to try to reduce our emissions, which we achieved by 14,000 tonnes, sorry. And then we've saved 39% reduction in our emissions. We've had large cost savings, which again help in reducing energy use. It's the lowest energy intensity aquatic centre in Victoria, with about 637 kilowatt hours per metre squared per year. We took a really holistic approach. We put in monitoring of energy use, energy auditing, prioritizing of opportunities, and continually investing in opportunities for energy efficiency, improvements, plenty of innovation, and renewable technologies. The projects included draft sealing, with the Barra system, retrofitting fresh air economy cycles to air conditioners, LED lighting across the whole facility, circulation pump efficiency upgrades of the atmospheric boilers, variable speed drives, and a 44 kilowatt solar system. Been strong collaboration between council staff, the building management team, the active communities team, and the sustainability team, and the YMCA, who actually run the aquatic centre. That's been the key to success over a long period. I was originally involved in quite a bit. It was, to cut a long story short, a real education to learn about VSDs and power factor correction, but those small beginnings brought great efforts with team colleagues. Currently, we're tendering for a 340 kilowatt solar PV system for the KCR. That will reduce emissions by a further 30%. So we're then looking at future efficiencies on the pumps and boilers, and looking at an EV charging station in the car park. So the aim is to make the facility zero emissions, then reinvesting the savings into more energy efficiency projects, and also sharing with the community the success of the journey. And at the entrance to the Ark is a really large interpretation sign showing 8 of the features that have been installed. Thank you, Emma.
Thank you so much, David. Up next, we have Emmarine Creek Environmental Enhancement. Community youth engagement. Michaela Goggin. No. Operation Bushfire Assist. Not having much luck today. Adult synchronized swimming in Brunswick's bath. No. Brunswick Uniting Church. All right. YMCA Victoria Brunswick Baths. Plant Your Roots.
That's one of mine, yes. Thank you. Plant Your Roots was founded from the council's Growing a Green Web programme. That started way back in the 90s. And from 1999 to 2009, we saw 250,000 Indigenous plants put in by schools and local community groups. Then in October 2015, we saw our largest community planting event ever held in the city of Casey. And that was bringing together many multicultural community members, and they planted 20,000 trees in the very important historic area of the police paddocks in Dever Hills as part of a green corridor for the Casey foothills. We believe that Plant Your Roots stands out from other re-veg programs, ones we've done and others probably, in many ways, particularly connecting people to nature, creating a feeling of connection to land, fostering awareness of local Aboriginal culture, and engaging with our multicultural community with diverse members of the community represented. I think this was the bit that we put into a number of videos when we presented, but it gives a lovely sense of place or belonging, ownership to our community. It creates a community forests. There's a huge willingness to put back into the environment and help it flourish. People obviously become more aware of the natural environment. They see they're making a difference. It's often a family occasion. People come and have great fun, and it creates a lovely sense of social cohesion. And all that then culminated, in my mind, in National Tree Day 2019. We had the largest community presence we've ever recorded, and that was about 525 participants, which was terrific. And again, in the 5 years, probably 57,500 trees have been put in the ground. Thank you, Emma.
Perfect. Thank you again, David. Up next, we have Returning Life to Waldorf's Creek.
That's me again. Okay. This was a great project. It saw the transformation of a very degraded creek with blackberries, willows, arum lilies into what is now a functioning, thriving ecosystem, which now supports values of conservation, education, and recreation. It's about a 5-hectare reserve, part of a subdivision from the 1980s in Harkaway, which is near Berwick in our community. It suffered poor management over the years with grazing, land clearing, you name it probably, erosion. Then we had great funding with the Peri-Urban Weed Management Partnership from 2012 to 16. And then Council's Capital Works programs successfully helped us from 2018 to 2020. It's part of a bigger picture connecting to the future Cardinia Creek parklands near Berwick. So again, the important thing is it's going to be protecting the Western Port catchment, which I think is crucial in our city. So the idea is to see a lovely area that's protected, the natural values of the catchment are enhanced. There are boardwalks put in, some lovely interpretation signage showing before and after pictures in particular. 35,000 trees have been planted in Waldorf Creek. And finally, there's new fencing, retaining walls because of the erosion I mentioned, and seating. Thank you, Emma.
Perfect. Thank you again, David. Up next, we have Raising the Public Profile of the Yarra. Integrated Water Management.
Me again. Okay, bear with me. Thank you. We have got a really good integrated water management plan at council. We've draft-proofed 3 sporting reserves going over probably the last 10 years. We've saved 21 million litres of potable water per annum, and we have earmarked our 5 future stormwater harvesting opportunities in 2020. And they include the Max Pawsey Reserve at Narre Warren. That's adjoining the Westfield Shopping Centre, for anyone who knows it, off the Princes Highway, east of Alum. We have a Narre Warren alternative water network, which is proposed for what is to become the Narre Warren Central Business District. So it's got great potential for the area. We have a really large site, which was our old civic centre that's vacated now, a parkland, which may well be developed at some stage of the game, since it's adjoining the big shopping centre. The whole of Max Pawsey Reserve, the Princes Highway, I've seen it many times, has been totally inundated by water. And it's been really sad over many, many years to see all this massive water just waiting to go down the stormwater pipes under the Princes Highway. As I said, it doesn't succeed too well. It goes over the top of it. Stage 1, which is just about to start, will be 50 million litres of water to be used for irrigation and fit for purpose use. That's the only drawback at the moment, because some of the water has to be approved from a health point of view to be used. Community education has been a major component. We put interpretation signs in 3 of the sporting reserves in Berwick, where we put in the stormwater harvesting project back a bit in time. We've often used a stormwater model to highlight the real issues of stormwater at the Doveton Show and other big festivals in Casey. And again, we see the protection of Western Port as much as Port Phillip being uttermost consideration in our work. And if deemed safe, as I was alluding to, water could be reused at the KCR in time to come. Thanks, Emma.
Perfect. Thank you, David. Up next, we have Social History Collector Cards for Children. No, Bullard cameras catching illegal dumpers.
Oh, sorry. I was on mute.
We'll go back to you.
Okay, thanks, Emma. And I'll just quickly say thanks to Keep Victoria Beautiful for organising and facilitating these informative sessions. Actually, I tuned in yesterday and, to be honest, to hear about the other finalists project in the Heritage and Culture category. And yeah, look, it was great, even aside from buying, I guess, on the other finalist. Look, I'm Marie Sheriff. I'm the Heritage Planner at the City of Casey, and you've already met David Westlake. And together with Heritage Planning and David's education and community engagement background, we've created the City of Casey's set of 10 social history collector cards, and I'm just going to quickly show you if you can see these. They are individual cards with information on the back. Anyway, so there are 10 of these cards, and they are collector cards for children, and the idea was to create and raise awareness of the City of Casey's history and heritage places. The City of Casey recognises the community's concern for the high number of planning applications received for, unfortunately, demolition of heritage places, and also occasions of demolition by neglect. And the council adopted growth areas, heritage places policy, and our heritage strategy highlight that as one of the fastest growing municipalities in Victoria, we face a significant challenge in trying to protect and integrate the most valued parts of our heritage into a rapidly developing urban environment, urban area. We identified that, you know, the local community's general lack of awareness and appreciation for the conservation values of heritage is probably key to the imbalance between heritage demolition and heritage conservation. And one way of hopefully overcoming this is with good consultation and engagement with, and, you know, commitment from all stakeholders. Given that the City of Casey's population growth is largely driven by young families, the heritage collector cards for children are strongly aligned with Council's strategic framework and our demographic profile. David Westlake was key in this process of creating or bringing about this collector card set. And I understand David was aware of similar cards prepared by the Connies for biodiversity. And so he decided to engage Roberto of the Connies to assist us in creating these collector cards. I know that together David and Roberto of the Connies drove around the municipality, visiting our various heritage places in order to determine the 10 topics for each card, and they were guided by the City of Casey's thematic history. To date, over 23,000 cards have been handed out to the Casey's Young and Young at Heart during our Heritage Festival and the Doveton Show. To complement the cards, the Connies, who are also a troupe, and this is taken from their website, a troupe of roving performers, they were also engaged to attend the festival, Heritage Festival, and the Doveton Show, where they entertained and educated the young festival goers and others young at heart on the 10 topics of the collector cards, and whilst they also handed out the cards. And this was done during a, hard to explain, but a Q&A type session where the correct answer would win the card. And children absolutely loved it. So yeah, it's also interesting to note that the cards are, you know, obviously appealing to young families, but they were also a hot ticket item with the adults during the Heritage Festival. And just at that festival alone, 16,000 of the cards were distributed. So I guess the question is, have the cards resulted in the protection of Casey's heritage places? Well, of course, that's very difficult to quantify. But, you know, wherever there were children, there were parents, and they were listening and learning too. But I can say that as the heritage planner, I can definitely confirm that since the collector cards were launched, the planning applications for demolition of heritage places have definitely been replaced with applications for repurposing of our heritage places. And we are also hoping that given the success of these cards, we will roll out a second set of 10 different heritage cards going forward. And that's it for me. Thanks, Emma.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Sorry, I read through those a little too quickly. Up next, we have Bullard Cameras catching illegal dumpers.
That would be me covering that one. Thank you, everybody, and thank you for tuning in this morning. This is from the City of Casey. So the litter prevention officers, what they actually got done was they actually had these bollards created. So obviously, trying to catch illegal litter dumpers is incredibly difficult because obviously they don't like, let you know where they're going to dump and that sort of things. And also because traditional things tend to be a little bit more obvious, and so people just don't dump there, they just go further down the street. So what our litter prevention team got organised, they actually had it designed with Replast. So they actually Replast created the product for them, where it's like a bollard, just a plain ordinary looking bollard. It has a little you want to call it, little plate on the front with City of Casey logo on it, kind of thing. Like it looks like any other bollard that we have around Casey, but they've managed to fit a camera, a motion sensor camera in it, so that then they can put the bollard is light. They can install it wherever they want. One person can install it. They can drive around with the back of the ute, and then go, right, I'm seeing a few things. If this area is becoming a bit of a dumping spot, they can just dig the hole, whack the bollard in, put the camera in, and so the camera captures the motion, it captures their faces, cars, number plates, what they've dumped, all those kinds of things. And so it's certainly enabled them to be able to have a lot more eyes on the ground and unrecognizable eyes on the ground kind of thing. Like it's not like it's a giant thing saying I'm recording you so don't dump here. People don't even realize there's just this random bollard there, and so they're catching an awful lot more of the litter dumpers and able to either prosecute or get them to remove the stuff, fine them, whatever needs to happen kind of thing. So they're able to do that now just because of those those bollards have made that possible. Basically the bollard just has the plate on the front, the little City of Casey plate on the front, just has a tiny little hole in it that the camera just takes the photos through. But it's certainly enabled them to have a lot more eyes on the ground, which has been good. And as I said, because one person can install it or remove it, it makes it a lot easier. It's a lot cheaper. They don't have to get someone else to do it. They don't, there's no digging involved. Like no large scale earthworks involved. It's just kind of like dig a hole, plonk it in, come back 2 weeks later, pick it up. It serves its purpose here, move it somewhere else. And there's been other councils now that have also engage Replast to make them either similar or the same design bollards, so that they've got the same opportunity as well. So it's been good that it's been able to be, shared amongst other places. Other places are also able to take advantage of that and reduce their dumped rubbish, or at least, be able to catch those who are dumping the rubbish. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Abby. Up next, we have Together We Can Eliminate Single Use. No? All right. Food relief and community work. All right. Recycle, upcycle, pre-love, and relove essential items for children experiencing hardship.
Is that Big Group Hug?
Yes.
Sounds like Big Group Hug. Hello, everyone. My name's Hannah. I'm Community Engagement Manager with Big Group Hug. We work to break the cycle of disadvantage by giving vulnerable children the basics they need. And we seek to make a real difference to the lives of children now, but also going into the future. And that's why we have a big focus on lowering environmental impact by improving the rate of reuse, remake and recycle in the community. So we believe that resilient families are fostered through connected community support that is responsive and environmentally sustainable. Big Group Hug is built on donors and our volunteers. We reach out to our network for donations. Then our volunteers carefully check and lovingly prepare these goods into care packs for distribution through caseworkers directly to the families in need. Essential items are supplied for newborns to teens and include everything from clothing to baby equipment and toys. To give you an idea, last year we provided over 50,000 items to nearly 2,000 children. Being a solution to climate change is core to our service model. Everything we receive is given a new life in 3 ways. 1, upcycling. Many of our volunteers are really clever crafters who repurpose and make lots of beautiful things. For example, leftover face mask materials and clean sheets are turned into lovely string pull bags for grouping items together that go to the families. Barbie doll clothes are made from clean socks, and old balls of wool are transformed into woolen blankets. 2, recycling. We have an equipment area dedicated to safety checking, sanitising and fixing prams, cots, bouncers and everything else. There's also a toy area that carefully cleans and sorts the toys into stages of development. So making sure that there's imaginative play at the right stage, or expanding the mind of the young person, within a carefully, enclosed pack. And then 3, rehoming. We save and give the items we can't place to partners, such as Boots for All, who collect sporting clothing for the underprivileged, and Vietnam Swim School, who ask for children bathers aged around 6 to 14 years. And through recycling alone, we saved over 6,000 items from landfill last year. So that's it from me. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, Hannah. Up next, we have Social Media Connection, Green Living, and Casey.
That's me. All right, so the City Casey's Waste Education team, we have our own Facebook group that we get to run, which is slowly becoming more common for councils, but it's still pretty rare that they actually let the actual waste education team run it and not the comms team. So we've got, I checked GSS, we've got just over 1,500 members now. And of that 1,500 members, we've got, 1,416 active members. So almost everybody who is in the group is engaging with the content, making comments, sharing, reading, that kind of thing, which as far as we're concerned is a huge number of people. That's the vast majority of the people in the group are actually engaging with the content, which is wonderful. So it also allowed, because Jen, who's also in this little session as well, Jen and I are pretty passionate about all this sort of stuff and wanting to share lots of information, but obviously we both work part-time and we've got kids, and there's just not enough hours in a day to kind of share all the information and all the good things and tips and tricks and everything else that we want to do. So the advantage of the Facebook group is that we're actually able to do that a lot more, because otherwise, if we're relying just on the Casey social media or the Casey official channels, you get your occasional turn at it, and that's fine, because there's lots of other departments, and as much as we think we're the most important, or our messages are most important, everybody else needs to have a turn as well. So we are quite limited in what we can get out in that respect otherwise. So having the Facebook group has meant that we've been able to support also a lot of the people we found, and especially when you like education sessions, were really, they were kind of like, I feel like it's just me. I can't, all my friends and family just going, what are you doing this green stuff? Oh, this is ridiculous. There's no other means. I felt really, really alone. And so in creating this group, we were able to provide them a place to kind of go, oh, look it's not just me. I'm not the only one who's, you know, thinking these green things or wanting to do this. There's others, you know, or how do I do this? Or, you know, there's people who are just starting on their journey, being able to ask questions of, well, what about this? Or what's the best option here? Or where do I find, you know, they can do that. And also those who are further along that green living journey are also then able to share their knowledge as well. Or I learned this, or I found out this, or when I started, I did this, but now I do this, you know, those kinds of things. We've also put a lot of effort into try and make it a really positive group, because a lot of the online groups tend to get quite negative, because quite often they're very, very big and hard to admin kind of thing. Whereas from our perspective, we have at least, you know, paid time to do it with. And so the group has been really positive, and we've done a lot to try and encourage people. So it might just be someone saying, oh, I found this, you know, this new scrubbing brush or something, you know, but we're able to say, you know, that's great, good on you, you know, sort of thing. Whereas for a lot of other online groups, it tends to be, oh, that's not the greenest option, or whichever. It's, you know, we need to encourage people on those first little green steps, because if we don't encourage them at that point, they're going to give up. You know, so, but the community we've created is amazing and really supportive of each other. Even, you know, people will ask questions maybe on the weekend when we're not, you know, paying as much attention to it, obviously, and other people will answer the question. Or we had a post recently, because we've just had our recycling change and we're no longer accepting cardboard cartons and the UHT containers. So I did a big post on that. I think we had 45 shares where they shared it out to all their other local groups. So we've got this wonderful situation where we can put the information out, and either they can share it to their local groups. It also gives that 1,500 people the knowledge to then be able to address those questions in their local online things, or share that information amongst their friends. So when their friends say, oh, I'm going to do X, Y, Z, they can say, well, actually, no, don't, because these are the reasons. It gives them that, that understanding that we don't really have that opportunity in any other format. So I think that's about everything I was going to cover in that. I don't know. Look, the fact is it's working. I love it. It's so lovely. Everybody's just so happy in there.
Thank you so much, Abby. Up next, we have the evolution of the City of Casey's Green Living Festival.
It's me again, I promise. You're only hearing from me 3 times, so this is the last one. So Casey's a growing municipality. So I think last few financial years, we've had about 4,500 babies born into Casey. So we're talking huge numbers of babies, and therefore huge numbers of nappies and volumes of nappies and things like that. So the Green Living Festival that we held the last few years, excuse me, hang on. The Green Living Festival we've held the last few years actually had its origins in actually a cloth nappy expo. So back in 2008, we were trying to encourage people to use cloth nappies in Casey, because we had so many babies being born. I think there was probably about 3,000. Because every baby in disposables, it's about 2 tons of nappies going to landfill. So that's a huge amount of, you know, landfill footprint for, you know, someone that's only yay big. So we started out with the Cloth Nappy Expo, where we would have like a range of cloth nappies, because at that point, cloth nappies are really only available online, and like we're trying to encourage people to use them, but they're like, you know, they had nowhere to see them, to touch, to feel. And, you know, a lot of people also had, you know, the grandparents saying to them, oh, don't use that, and babies are drowning in nappy buckets, and, you know, all these sorts of things. And we're trying to say, well, actually, no, it's changed, and, you know, you don't have to have things soaking in nappy buckets. And, you know, anyway, so we felt the best way to do that was to actually have an expo. So bring these cloth nappy people in, so that then people could go along and see them and touch them and go, oh, I like that, oh, I don't like that. You know, they had that opportunity. So we did that for many years. We tried various formats. So we went to different, you know, progressively had to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And we tried a few different locations as well. We even did one year where we just did some little mini ones as opposed to one big one, because obviously if you can't make it to that one big one, you've missed it for the year. And we tended to get about 50% Casey residents, and then we'd have 50% from everywhere else. And I'm talking everywhere else. People were driving 5-6 hours to come to it, because there was nothing else like it anywhere. So we'd had people traveling from all over the place to come to it, which was really lovely as well. And then we decided, because the problem was, well, you know, we had a cloth nappy expo, and we'd have all these extra stall holders who were also eco stall holders who got very high standards, very high standards. You know, people go, oh, my stuff is recyclable. Yeah, sorry, that's not good enough. But we wanted to sort of broaden that range. So we went to Green Kids, and so still had lots of cloth nappies, but we sort of just broadened the title. We didn't really change the composition of the stall holders. We still had, you know, nappies as well as other good, you know, good stuff. But then a lot of people wouldn't come along because they go, well, I haven't got kids, or I haven't got babies. You know, we would still have the advertising with, you know, the cute little baby with a cute little cloth nappy on, and people would look at it and dismiss it, as opposed to going, well, actually, there might be something for me. So we created it into the Green Living Festival. We still have some cloth nappy stall holders. We have a much bigger range of other stall holders now, because a lot of the cloth nappies, it's not so needed anymore to have them in you know, actually physically there, because there's a lot more out there. There's a lot more available in shops, and that it's a lot easier for people to access compared to what it was 10 years ago, no, 12 years ago. 12 years ago when we started this journey. So now we've created the Green Living Festival, which obviously the last one we ran was last year, because we can't run one this year, or at least a big event. But we ran a huge event last year. We had a lot of support from comms, which was great. The library joined in as well, because that's in the same facility. So we had stalls everywhere. We had entertainment. We had people everywhere. And it was really, really good, because for a lot of people, it was a chance to you know, to see a lot of the things that they've been wanting to purchase or considering purchasing, could actually pick it up and, oh, this is what it is, or a chance to learn as well. There's a lot of opportunities. We had talks and things like that, as well as a lot of the stall holders. We make a really big push for them to be there for the conversation, not so much about for the sale, but for the conversation. We give them free stalls. You know, we we provide the table, the chairs, the everything. They just have to bring their stuff in and present, because we want to encourage them to come along, obviously, because it makes it better, but also so that they can have those conversations with people. And it's not about, I need you to buy my product because I've just spent $120 to come here today. We want it to be much more focused on that education level as well. So yeah, it was really good. The event was amazing, but it's also because we can hold it at our civic centre, and where Bundle Place is. It's next to Casey Ark, the big swimming pool, and just across from Fountain Gate. There's a library, there's a theatres there. There's, you know, it's a huge precinct, and so it meant we got all these extra people who were coming in who would never have otherwise come, but they also got to see some of these things and be exposed to it that they otherwise never would have done. And so a lot of them came through. They bought a coffee, or they, oh, what's going on? While I'm here, I'll have a look. And all of a sudden, they're learning about all these things that they didn't even realize that they wanted to know about. So that will also all that bonus incidental learning. So I think that's it. We had lots of people. I think we had like 800 or 1,000 people. So
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And up next, we have Boomerang Bag City of Casey.
Would be me. All right, so my name's Jennifer, and I'll be talking today on behalf of all the Boomerang Bag volunteers in Casey. So Boomerang Bags was launched in Casey in November 2017 as part of National Recycling Week. So the Boomerang Bags program has been highly successful as a true partnership with council supporting our community groups to establish and run successful groups. The groups are run by volunteers, and the groups that make their reusable bags from secondhand materials. So there's no buying brand new materials to build these bags. A lot of it comes from community donations. So it could be curtains, sheets, pillowcases, or remnant fabric. So it's all reusing an item. And the aim of the bags is to reduce our need for single-use plastics. We really want that message out into our community. So the groups are accessible to all ages and ability, and everyone is welcome. There's no barriers for anybody to join in and take part. People come to our groups for lots of different reasons. Some for a love of sewing, some because they're passionate about the environment, and some as a safe social connection, a place to come and meet, especially those who are new to Casey. A place to find a friendship, have a chat in a supportive environment. So the group has now grown to having 4 active groups spread out throughout Casey. And as a combined effort, all these groups have made over 4,500 bags that have been shared out. These bags are given, we don't sell them. There's different opportunities to collect a bag. We've got them in stores, and we have events where we hand them out. There's sometimes an option to give a donation. A lot of people can't just take something, they like to give something. But the bags are accessible to anybody. And once they have a bag, it's theirs to keep. They don't have to return it for somebody else to use it, which is really important health and safety aspects. It's their bag, they can wash it and reuse it, and it's theirs to keep. So this bag reduces the their single-use plastic, and also opens the opportunity for what other single-use items they can replace. So they're carrying a reusable bag, so they might think twice about, you know, getting their coffee in a single-use cup, or carrying or buying a bottle of water. They might then, you know, start carrying the bottle of water. It's just changing that mindset. It's in a lot of instances it may be someone's first step. So COVID has affected our sewing bees, but what we have been able to do is support our volunteers sewing from home. And we've actually had a bit more interest with people coming new to the program as they've been stuck at home and needed an activity to take part in. And that way we've still been able to keep our community connected, and it's you know, help with that loneliness and not having something to do. So it's actually been quite a positive activity to do. So through this program, what we have noticed is an increased awareness in single-use plastics in our community. So with presence of volunteers at local events, displays in shops with signs and their stands, and we've also got an online community with over 200 people joining in and hearing the messages. We've also noticed a demonstration of a sharing focused community, because although all 4 groups do work independently, if anybody needs something, we work together to help each other. And yeah, so we're sharing materials, we're sharing items, machines, sharing knowledge. There's lots happening in that space. Skill sharing, we've been upskilling. If you don't know how to sew, you don't need to have any sewing knowledge to join, but that's the place to learn. So everybody is very welcoming and will share all their skills. We've also seen a lot of confidence growing with people joining the groups as well. Positive behaviour changes in reducing single-use plastic and other environmental awareness. There's lots of positive conversations that happen at the sewing bees. We've seen healthy support groups and friendships develop, and also that feeling connected to a much bigger worldwide movement. So being part of this program has been a really positive experience, watching the true connection of our community working together to create real change, both environmentally and socially, because it really is more than just the bag. So we're working towards making not only Victoria more beautiful, but the whole world more beautiful. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Jen. And then just before we wrap up, I just want to make sure that I didn't miss anyone or anyone didn't attend today because they couldn't go their other day.
Yeah, you might have missed me. I might have missed the jump in for Nature Kids program.
Perfect. I'll have you go ahead and speak on that behalf.
Wonderful. And then I know that there's one more. There's Trish from the community garden to talk as well.
I haven't spoken yet.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, we'll go ahead and go with you, Jen, and then jump onto Tris to.
Wonderful. Okay, so I'm presenting the Nature Kids as a volunteer in the City of Casey. So the Nature Kids program has been running since 2018 from the Blind Bite Community Centre. The program has been made possible through an environmental grant from the City of Casey and volunteers to organise and run the program. The program was designed to fill the gap in environmental education for our children and families and make it accessible to all. There's no cost or no barriers to attend. We live in an environmentally significant location in the coastal villages that are both Ramsar sites and part of the biosphere. We wanted to connect our families in a fun and engaging way to provide some local knowledge of our natural ecosystems, give our youth and families a sense of belonging, and form a connection and a love for nature. Working on the philosophy of you need to love something in order to protect it. So throughout the program, we've run an assortment of activities and had some excellent providers share their skills and knowledge with activities like gardening and cooking using both traditional and Indigenous plants, a trip to the Moonlit Sanctuary, our local wildlife sanctuary, and part of that was some really important snake awareness education. We had bug blitz come out with hands-on looking at our creepy crawlies and why they are an essential part of our ecosystem. A lot of people got over their fear of arachnophobia on that day, and we now have an appreciation for spiders. Sustainable fishing, learning how to enjoy fishing and do it sustainably and responsibly. We've had wildlife carers come and share their knowledge on how to provide a safe habitat and food source for our wildlife and what to do if you ever encounter an injured animal. We've run some nature craft workshops using our natural materials to create and make something beautiful to keep. We've been out bird watching, identifying our birds and learning more about them, as well as some of their very long journeys that they take. We've had Seaweed Sally come. She's always one of the favourites, as she brings her marine life incursion to the centre, where all kids get to actually do a really hands-on with a live touch tank as well. So all these activities give all the attendees a hands-on opportunity with a whole family focus. So it's not just for the kids, the parents, grandparents, aunts, whoever brings the child to the session is part of the session and joins in as well. So it's been really wonderful to provide our community with this opportunity to learn and get involved more with nature. We see the spark and passion that comes through and hope it continues to spread and give them a bit of an appreciation of just how beautiful Victoria is. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you so much. And then we'll go ahead and have Trish speak on behalf of the community center.
Yes, I'm a volunteer at the Blind Bite Community Centre and I'm involved with the community garden. So the Blind Bite Community Centre garden was initiated in March 2019 with the construction of several raised garden beds and the help of a few willing volunteers for the initial planting. And as the garden started to flourish, it invoked a fair bit of interest. And to avoid any waste, the excess produce was offered to the community via the Grow Free trolley, which was located outside the community centre prior to lockdown. Of course, anybody else can help themselves directly from the garden. Monthly meetings have brought together locals with diverse interests and an amazing knowledge to be shared from horticultural backgrounds, Indigenous plant experts, permaculture enthusiasts to complete beginners. The meetings are always lively with discussions, ideas and shared stories, as well as hands-on work in the garden. Plants, seeds, produce and garden books are also swapped on these occasions. Unfortunately, these get-togethers have been sorely missed for the last 7 months or so, but we've kept in touch via social media and we're all itching to get out there and get our hands dirty again. Last December, we had our first long table community meal in the garden, which supplies all of our salads. This was a great success and brought together many people who would not normally cross paths for a wonderful sociable evening. Plans are afoot for extending the current area to include a bush tucker garden with appropriate signage noting the Indigenous stories about the various plants. A local source of Indigenous knowledge has confirmed a desire to help. Workshops are also being planned for skills such as composting, fermenting, sourdough bread making and seed saving. The garden's created a beautiful, bountiful, relaxing space for us all to enjoy in a previously unused area of the Blind Bite Community Centre. Thanks for listening.
Okay, thank you so much, Trish. And thank you to everyone else who spoke today as well. It's been wonderful to hear about all the projects happening all around us. Quickly, before we wrap up, I'm just going to pass off to Kirsty, our board member, to say some final words.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, great. I am blown away as ever by the amount of things you do and say and share, from the bollards to the planting to the water to everything. It was amazing. The judges have already been out there. Again, they've been blown away. They've come back with amazing feedback. I think the final judging is done on the 9th of November. It'll be announced then. But really, you're all winners. I mean, what you do is just stunning. It's just stunning. And we'll share those stories on to social media that we can connect like this and you can talk. So thank you enormously. I loved it.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone. And we will not see you virtually on November 12th at the awards night. Perfect. Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
So yeah, thank you.
Of course. Thank you for joining us.